Hey guys, welcome back to Rail Chief's Back Shop here. And in today's episode, we are going to be working on the restoration of my Lionel 3520 operating post-war Searchlight car from 1949. Now, I know what you all might be thinking. Mike, weren't you working on the milk car originally? Are you still working on that? And how long is that going to take? Well, the short answer is I'm still trying to search for more of the parts that I need. So it's going to be a while until I officially do another video on the milk car. But don't worry, guys, I'll get back to it eventually. But in the meantime, I figured we might as well switch over to something else that's also post-war related here. So before we get on with the restoration here, let's talk a little history. Now, the Searchlight cars were introduced during the pre-war period of the Lionel Corporation, but they didn't release a more realistic version of the Searchlight car until 1949. The car was made entirely of plastic, and the Searchlight was made of die-cast. But however, the Searchlight on the car was permanently mounted to the car itself, which means if you wanted to turn the Searchlight around, you would have to move it manually with your fingers. And those cars lasted through about 1949 to 1951. But shortly after, Lionel introduced the vibrotor or the vibration mechanism to the Searchlight cars that same year, and the number was changed to 3520, and those cars lasted through about 1949 to 1953, and the Searchlights were changed from die-cast to plastic. But then a year later, in 1954, Lionel removed the power switch mechanism underneath the car and changed the number to 3620. Now those cars I should say, are commonly found with the steps or the brake stand assembly broken off. Now, if you do find a car with the steps or the brake stand all intact, that's very rare, and that makes you a very lucky collector. Now here on the table in front of me, I do have a replacement original car body for the 3520. This car indeed comes with the operating switch mechanism, and once the plunger is pulled down, it turns a wheel on the side, which automatically turns on and off the Searchlight and the vibration mechanism, or turns it back on whenever you have it over an uncoupling track section. Now, this mechanism is designed very similar to how the Lionel post-war E-units work. When you change the direction of the train, you press the direction button, and it will change from forward to neutral, reverse to neutral, and then to whichever position you run it at. And then as for the trucks here, this one is completely covered in rust, so I'm going to see if I can try to replace that with an original post-war part that I have. But anyway, let's go ahead and sit back and relax, and I hope you guys will enjoy the show here. Alright, so now we have the car fully reassembled, so the only thing that we have to do now is to solder the wire onto the power tab and the other side of the wire onto the power truck. And I forgot to do this a little bit earlier before we reassembled everything, but we also need to solder the brake wheel back onto the kickstand here, so that shouldn't be a problem. And I also went ahead with a dry eraser and some water and gave this thing a good scrub down, because this thing was really filthy when I bought it. But it actually did a really good job of removing all that dirt and grime from the car without removing the paint, so I'm really happy with that. But anyhow, let's go ahead and get on to the soldering part of this project. What we just need to do is flip it over. We'll get our soldering iron. We'll take our wire here. We'll give this a little elbow grease and then press the old solder down so that way it melts onto the wire tab. Now, just as a little side note, if the solder is a little stubborn to melt at first, adding some new solder will usually help to loosen the old solder up. go, it's starting to melt. All right, now that everything is soldered back into place, let's go ahead and reassemble the truck here. And finally, let's go ahead and disassemble the generator here, so that way it makes it easier for us to work on the kickstand. Now let's go get our brake wheel, place it back on, we'll mount it into position, and then we'll go ahead and get our soldering iron. Once again, it will solder the rivet back into the kickstand. It's as simple as that. Once again, make sure the soldering iron is turned on. We'll take the brake wheel, just mount it into place again. Let go. Finally, with a little pressure, we pop it right back into place. And now for the grand finale, let's go ahead and test this thing up on the layer upstairs, and we'll see how she operates. Alright, that's about it for today's video here. Like I said, it's very easy to reassemble and put that together, and hopefully somebody out there will find this video pretty useful. So once again, thank you